Attorney Francis, thanks very much. I'm sure you will have some additional questions over coffee. Okay, so I'd like to invite Pablo Oten to the stage. I see his chair is empty, but he's here. He's over here. So, yeah, Pablo, VP of Emerging Markets for 8-Minute Energy Renewables. Reading his bio, it's intriguing to see the number of gigawatts that you've been involved in developing. So that was really, really interesting with the big companies, and also with your experience with Foresight and Lightbeam to see the other side of these projects. So it's going to be very interesting to hear now what Pablo has to say. So just join me in welcoming him to the stage.
Well, thank you first, Dermot, for the introduction, the organizers for the opportunity, and I really hope I can get the same level of interaction by when I finish my panel. It was pretty cool. First, what we're trying to do today is explain what is the value to the regulators and off-takers and utilities of solar plus storage. And let me start first with a quick poll. How many here works in utilities? Raise your hand. No utilities? Okay, fair amount. Regulators? Francis? Non-regulators? Okay, so I think I know who's gonna be playing here. Good. What do? We're a solar developer. We're one of the largest solar developers in the world. We're based in California. That's our home turf. And what we've been doing so far over the last 6-7 years is that kind of things. Very, very large projects in the middle of the desert, capturing as much energy as possible, pushing it through, getting through the system, get paid, fantastic business, relatively simple. We've been very fortunate, and over the last years, we have aggregated about 1.5 gigawatt of projects, of which half of them are in operation, the other half are in construction. And we've been competing with top class, and we're very fortunate to have fantastic competitors who are pushing us every day towards the nurse. 7.5 gigawatt of development, and all that is a great story. We're super, very excited about how the technology is working, how the environment is working, and one day you wake up and there's always a bat. And the bat here is how you grow and how you keep growing and how you get things going forward. Up to 2015, our business was the right side of the picture. That was basically PV plants. We have built Mount Signal, that is 800 megawatt. 2/3 of it is in construction or in operation. The last third is will near construction next year. We've built some of the projects like Springbok, 450 megawatt, delivers the power to the city of LA in the US. That is about, out of these projects, we delivered about 5% of the total energy of LA, and LA is one of the mega cities in the world. And very, very fortunate. But the trend is changing, and it's changing very rapidly, and it's changing into a very different product. And now, as a company, we're transitioning from PV to PV plus storage, and very likely to a storage. Why? A few words that we've been said today. We're in a very transformational moment in the technology. Storage is a very different product from what it was a few years ago. The second thing is because the pricing of storage, the pricing of solar is declining at an incredibly speed. Other words that it was said today was said yesterday, revolutionary. I think like it's happening in everything nowadays. You can't control the speed of change. Like we can't control the speed of change of internet, or the Internet of Things, or the car. I mean, everything is moving so fast, and the same applies to our industry. And finally, it's because it's a good product. I mean, when you look at what you can achieve to utilities combining these two solutions, the ultimate proposal is a win-win-win. You get a product that works good for the grid. You get a product that solves many problems, and we'll talk through today, and is very price competitive. I will argue, and we'll see a case in point towards the end of the presentation, that today, maybe not in the US because we have gas at a ridiculously low price, but in places where you don't have gas, you don't have local coal, solar plus storage is cheaper. Period. It's just simply cheaper. Moving on to the next thing here, if I may. And before I enter into this presentation, it was said through the discussion before that the US is to some degree leading the charge. And I would say that is true. Actually, very recently there was a case in point in the US where a very large utility, one of the largest utilities in the country, were basically pushing through the regulatory environment a new gas peaker plant in San Diego. And the California PUC, the California Public Utility Commissions, studied the case, were about to approve it, and there was a lot of controversy. And the controversy came because the price in which that project started, it was about 2 years ago, and the conditions of today has changed dramatically. And in the approval process, they didn't recognize that simply gas in the US, which is ridiculously cheap, was not even the best solution right now. We are moving from a low cost of energy, and pretty much everywhere this deflationary is low cost is all across the world, to a cost best fit solution. And right now, cost best fit solution is coming through one of the two, either hybrid solar PV or storage alone. I think pretty much is aware of the two solutions. In one, we have a hybrid product where solar delivers energy through the system as well as to the battery, and the combination provides a base point in which you have a fixed energy across the day. In the other one, basically, you just do an arbitrage, frequency response versus load. By the way, I encourage everyone to stop me at any point you have any questions, or send questions through the text system. One of the things is there is relatively a small amount of storage in the energy sector. We're very fortunate to have there's about 2 gigawatts of solar out there. 2 gigawatts of storage out there delivering energy in the world. Our team has been involved in about 25% of that, in 500 megawatt. And most of that is happening in the west coast of the US. True to be said, let me rephrase that. Most of that is happening in the US. Not a huge amount of systems yet, but many more to come. And one of the key aspects is if all of that comes, is this result of a discussion or a contract with utilities. As happened with solar then, when we started in 2007, there has to be a first mover, and that first mover has to be utilities. So we need the regulators to convince the utilities that they need to get things going in the storage side, so that after that, the whole market, either we could be talking about retail or C&I, can take the lead from their own. One of the things that many people ask is why PV storage? Well, the first thing is, we have about 5 sections here. We can all read it, but let me give my take. So when we're in an industry that pretty much has changed nothing for about 100 years, we moved from coal to gas to oil, but pretty much the same product, the same solution. If it wasn't 100 years, easily 75 years. Now, all of a sudden, we need to make decisions for the next 25, 30 years. When you build a coal plant, that's not gonna depreciate in 20 years. That's not gonna depreciate in 5 years. And the decisions that we made today are the ones that will become real in 3, 4, 5 years, are the ones that we're gonna have to live with for the next 25, 30, 50 years. Like when we have a phone or any electronic equipment, we can change that every 2 years. When we build a nuclear power plant, we won't change it for the next 100. So the decisions that are made today are the ones that are going to affect the next generation. And one of the things that PV plus storage, and storage in particular, allows us is to make decisions that we can change and correct across. In the case of solar plus storage, I would point out a few things. One is cost. Price, like in housing, you have location, location, location. PV plus storage is cheaper. It's a good product that is cheaper than the average solution you can find out there. Arguably, you can put a storage in everything, and arguably, you can make some of the gas solutions better by adding storage. But at the end of the day, the combination of the two is cheaper. It's clean, right? We all want to live in an environment that our kids can enjoy, and certainly we have to do something on that one. And finally, with the product in itself, we have multiple solutions. So we move to the next slide. When we talk about energy storage, when we sell this product to the utilities, one of the first things we need to explain is this is not a directional solution where I sell you a project, you take it. The beauty of a storage is that truly bidirectional. Like when we're using technology, internet, or when we're using any application that is, you can have a bidirectional channel of communication, the amount of solutions that you can accomplish are multiple. And this is where one of the key and most transformational elements. At the very minimum, we have 8 different products that we can sell. So I've been in several discussions where some of the suppliers argue that there are at least 13 different products. Which one of them we want to go for? Open to discussions. And every technology could, within the storage solution, there are technologies that can address one or the other one better. But at the end of the day, we have a product that is multi-channel. You can stack up solutions, and you can have 1 or 8, or actually a combination of all of them. And when you have a solution that stacks on top of that, 1 plus 1 sometimes is not 2. It could be easily 3, 4, 5, or much more. So we have a levered effect that we don't have with anything else right now. Coming back to the point I was making with the leverage effect, as you could see there, not every solution is equally important. Not every solution provides the same level excuse me. Not every solution provides the same level of results overall, but at the end of the day, there are some of them, some critical that either invoke energy on the cellular services that gives significant amount of value to the utilities. And open brackets here, when we give value to the utilities, we give value to us. With that meaning that in a regular environment, when a utility is able to benefit, that benefit directly and indirectly, sooner or later, is going to pass through to each of us in our house into the service. So we as an industry, as a developers, want to make sure that we are able to explain the value and the value proposition that we can provide to the utilities, so that they can eventually are encouraged and they can bring that to their end consumers. A little bit more of the same, but kind of the point is that we have a lot of problems out there. The grid is because of the way it's been structured, because the way it was built out there with 100+ years of history, only directional, which pretty much no flexibility at all. We just found a solution that can solve pretty much every problem. So that level of uniqueness is something that has to be addressed. The other one that is important, and again, I'm going to pick it up a little bit on the regulators, is what is called the stacking services. When I sell power, I sell an electron. Electron goes from me to you. When it goes to the meter, it gets paid. Very easy. One directional, very easy. But what if when I do many more things? When if my same product does frequency response? Well, the electrons certainly go from point A to point B. And in some cases, in frequency response, the electron goes from different direction. How do you get paid for that? Coming back to discussion was this in the previous panel. How do you monetize the benefit, the intrinsic benefit that you deliver far and beyond the electron that passes through a meter, and how the regulators are compensating that to us, the sponsor, how to the investor, how the regulators are able to stack up and properly price the leverage effect of having multiple solutions happening at once. I believe, I saw some pictures, I believe this material will be there, and the reference that is made in the presentation is a very cool report put out by PwC and Deloitte about the value of the technologies. One more, coming back to the PV plus storage, the transformational technologies that are changing the power in the world. We're going to see a real effect, and this is happening now, meaning happens in 2017, of combining what's going on the solar. We're a solar developer, therefore that's what we like it, and we kind of push in every conversation. And two, the effect of a storage that we're seeing of solar plus or PV plus storage combined when you have large-scale utility. So these are real-time effects. This is India. These are real numbers. These numbers came from the regulator. And red meaning, red is basically hydro, is the lowest cost in India. Blue is coal, and I mean, they like to call it thermal, but coal, nevertheless. And it's pretty expensive. It's arguably is cheaper than it was other solutions, but very cheap. It's going to be very expensive, in my opinion. And this is kind of the map of all the pricing that you can find overall in the market. So this is, now let's talk about UMPP. Anyone is familiar with UMPP? Okay. UMPP is the ultra mega power plant. If anyone is familiar with the Indian market, they'll make things sound big, ultra mega power plant. So that's 5 gigawatt, which is big, right? Then they went out, they bid it out, and they came back with ridiculously low prices. So what happened is they were like 16 different ultra mega power plants. They were only built few, about 6. 3, 4 are in bankruptcy or close into bankruptcy process, and they're public information, so we can pick up some of the records. And out of these court cases, the break-even meaning I just get my money back, I pay the bank, I make no money on my investment, I break even meaning very, very bad investment, is 2.9 rupees. That's about 5 cents. In this particular case that we make a reference here, the developer is asking for 4 rupees. That would be like 6.5 cents in today's currency exchange. Okay, so let's see what happens. So all of the guy above, meaning these are out of market. So everyone has to be in any new solution, because coal price going up, right? We want to make sure it's cleaner. That means expensive product, expensive solutions that cleans the product. So meaning that any new facility is going to be on the upper end, on the blue side. Just that's what it is. We can't change that. Whether it's close to the dotted line or is upper on the scale, we don't know, but it's going to be somewhere there. So let's see what happened. So we have auctions through the year, first come win, relatively aggressive 346. It was half of what it was before. Everyone excited. All right, we're getting renewables very cheap. This is competitive. Let's see what happened next. There was a bigger solar auction, came lower. Another month, 2 months after, another solar auction came cheaper. Oh, hold on. We get another solar auction, it came again cheaper. Now is the cheapest. Okay? That now we're talking about LCOE. We're not talking about cost benefit. Is the cheapest. Another one get even cheaper. Okay? It's amazing. So now we're 15% lower than our natural competitor. And let's see what happened. And now everyone says, "Oh, hold on." But coal is 24/7. This is base load. I mean, you can't compare base load with solar because I need the power through a growing economy. which to some degree makes sense, except it makes sense only during a period of time, because when you have a developed economy, you don't want power 24/7. You want power when you need it. The dark chart and stuff like that. But let's take that argument for a minute. Okay, we don't deliver power through 24/7. Therefore, that 15% could be the right way to value the difference between as available product versus a load product. And then people says, if you have a nice product with batteries, that would be a kicker. But you are 5 years out. Therefore, let's talk in 5 years when you get there. Really? No. Right there. When we put very large solar with batteries, our price today matches coal at break even, which meaning that today we can make it work with 4 hours of storage in larger scale, the price of coal, which is a match. Conclusion here, if you're a regulator, before you go into thermal or any other solution, think twice. Because your new plan, which is going to be there for the next 35 years, our kids will enjoy the smoke coming out, are today priced out. Priced out. I mean, that's the economics. And more importantly, when you make the decision of going on that direction, it's very, very, very likely that there will be cost overruns, because that's the way the industry works. We're not that good at budgeting, and normally when you have a large ultra mega power plant, prices goes up. While you're competing with a technology like it's declining constantly. The price of PV has declined from my first panel that I bought in 2007 at $4 per watt, maybe more, at today 30 cents. So it's less than 10%. And storage batteries have reduced in 2 years 78%. I mean, clearly there's one indication up, there's one indication down. So if you want to bet, I guess you want to bet the one that goes down. That's what I would do. Continue with that. We have a key changing paradigm. I'm sure many of you have seen that picture. That's where we're coming from, and that's where we're going. And the only question that I have in my mind is to what degree the line in 2035 is for real. Because we can, last question here. Who in 2007 thought that the iPhone would revolutionize the way we do business and do our lives? I mean, that's less than 10 years ago. The question is, by 2035, at the speed of change with the new technologies, with battery, with solar, with wind, with whatever else is coming, are we going to be there, or are we going to be farther on the deeper side of the green color? And the second thing is, when we see all of that, the golden age of gas and all of this, well, every time you see that, think about the amount of subsidies that have gone. When people talk about renewables and it's expensive, subsidized, yeah, well, think about this twice. The amount of subsidy that have gone into the oil and gas industry is by far the biggest ever thrown into any industry. More of the same, and I think we should be finished because I think we are relatively out of time, is upward, downward, winner, losers. It's not my, obviously I have very bias. Hey, I'm pro renewables, pro storage, but there are things that are basically facts. And this is not fake news, this is true. There's upward trends and downward trends. If you go into coal, you're in the wrong side of the trade. Might not be today, but your investment has to be done and think of for the long run. You are simply in the wrong side of the coal, in the trade. If you have natural gas, yep, the only thing is wait, because your competitive advantage is based on an unrealistic price of gas, if you're lucky to be in the US, or an LNG price who is subsidized by the supplier. For natural gas to be able to compete with solar plus storage, gas price should be at the range of $7 BTU. and today in the 10-ish. I don't see how they're going to get down, because simply there's, you have equipment and steel and pumps and electricity that has to get there. So right now, yes, you're competitive. We'll see what happens by 2025. And certainly with the trend that we're seeing in some market, I would say one of them India, but as well in Europe, they're going to be priced out very quickly. Whether it's 2020 or 2022, I don't know, but certainly it won't be 2030. And then just finally nuclear. That was a great story in the 60s, or in the 40s, or in the 50s, but we are in a different age. Just simply too expensive. It's too expensive. It takes too long. It has too many risks. No one really wanted it. It just makes no sense. But let's see what is the outward trend. Renewables. I don't think I have to convince anyone here that renewables is the way to go. But let's think about the next one: storage and the smart grid. We have a transformational point. We're moving from one direction to multiple directions. The same thing that we were, like P2P in the internet age. And there's new business models that we don't even know of. If anyone here is in Bitcoin, it's fascinating, because Bitcoin is like internet in the 90s. We were thinking, oh, we have this super cool thing. We don't know yet how to do with it, but we know it's going to work out. Same feeling that people had when they first time opened the Netscape, the browser in the 90s. Like, what do we do with it? What is this for? Well, we didn't know then, but we know now is the way we do our life. But the same thing happens here with the batteries, the new solutions, the smart meters, all of that. It's transformational. We simply don't know how it's going to go. All we know is going to go in a way that will take all of the other side, all of the guys on the left side, out of business. And finally, a few advantages of solar plus storage. One is obviously we follow the Moore's law. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but basically it means that every time that you increase your volume twice, you reduce your price by about 25%. We have similar law applying to the solar panels, and it's surprising because it's been held constant for the last 20 years. So every time that we double the size of the industry, we reduce by, I believe it's 25% the cost. Boom, boom, boom. And it keeps going. Obviously, as we near to zero, right? Now panels are 30 cents, is it's slightly more complicated. It's not that easy, but it's still 20%. 20% of one is different to 20% to 20 cents, but it's still 20%. The second thing is size. I mean, if anyone here thinks that these technologies are not bankable, they have no track record, they're just not simply looking to the numbers. 36 gigawatt of installed capacity, and for the very first time, in 2017, solar was the largest net adder in generation in the world. First one was wind, 75 gigawatt. First one was solar, 75 gigawatt. Second was wind with 51 gigawatt. Third, coal, almost 51 gigawatt. And then all of the others which are down there, right? You have solar, wind, coal, boom. You get the next, which is gas at around 30 gigawatt. And on the side of the storage, anyone really thinks that lithium ion is not bankable? Because you just need to look around. Your iPhone, your tablet, your car, everything that we have in our house is lithium ion. It might be different chemicals, arguably. There's when you do an omelette, not everyone does the omelette the same way. Let's use the same example. But at the end of the day, this is a technology that is living with us, is part of us, is in our pocket for the last 20 years. And then obviously, today, we're down here, 2 gigawatt, very small. But question is, if by 2030, we will see 80 gigawatt or it will be 100 gigawatt. Question is how many gigawatt? And it would be a triple-digit gigawatt or will be a double-digit gigawatt? But it will be a huge amount of that. So regulators, utilities, us as an industry, we need to educate and make sure that next time there is a decision about where to make the investment, we think beyond the next 2, but over the next 30, 40, 50 years. And with that, I would just say thank you. Oops.
Imported from the grid to recharge a 1 megawatt storage. How many hours will it take to charge 1 megawatt of storage?
What is called the round trip is about, depends on technology, but let's call it 95%. So when you need 1 megawatt hour of battery, you need 1 megawatt hour times 105. And then the thing about a storage unit is you do that for something, right? So you're gonna have to discharge. So the round trip would be 5% losses one way, 5% losses on the other way. So you will need 1.1 megawatt hours of energy coming in to get 1 megawatt of energy going out.
That sounds about right to me, Pablo. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we'll refresh over a coffee and we'll see you all back promptly around 11 a.m.